did your dream job become a 5,000-mile nightmare? I literally just found out the job I moved 5,000 miles for is a total career-ending nightmare because someone posted a 1,500-word essay about me on r/Antwork. And I'm currently sitting in my rental apartment 3B at 3:17 a.m. trying to figure out if I need to Zelle my brother Benjamin $5,000 to fly over here and stage an intervention. I'm Brian Gonzalez, 50M, and honestly, past me was such an idiot for thinking this was my big break. I don't even know where to start with this dumpster fire, but let's go back 3 months. I was bored, super bored. Being a senior open relationship navigator consultant sounds fancy, but mostly it meant navigating spreadsheets and mediating personality clashes that were just thinly veiled power struggles over who got the good ergonomic chair. My life was fine. It was steady. I had a great place in Seattle. My 2018 Honda Civic was paid off, and I had finally hit platinum status on Delta. Then the email came from Phoenix Global, massive company, global expansion. They were opening their new APAC headquarters in Singapore and needed a director of cross-cultural synthesis. The title alone was sexy. The pay? Let's just say it made my current $180K look like pocket change. They offered me an initial salary that was almost double, plus relocation, plus a housing allowance that covered my $1,247 rent back in Seattle 3 times over. I was set to be the bridge between the US corporate culture and the new Asian team. I was told I was the only one who had the vision and emotional intelligence to handle it. Spoiler alert, they lied. I called my younger brother, Benjamin Davis, 67M, immediately. Yes, he's 17 years older than me, long story, but Ben is the most protective, old-school guy you could ever imagine. He's retired Air Force and now just fixes up beat-up Toyota Corollas in his massive garage back in Tulsa. He's been my rock since forever. I told him about the offer and his reaction was immediate. He texted me back, all caps, "Singapore, is that even safe? You are 50 years old, I don't like this." I called him back laughing. I was like, "Ben, it's one of the safest cities in the world. It's a huge opportunity. We're talking first-class flights, apartment with a pool, serious career move." Ben, 67M, was quiet for a minute. "Brian, you're the open relationship navigator. You're supposed to be navigating human connections. Why are you suddenly trying to manage a whole continent? It sounds like they want you to be a human shield for something ugly." I know, Benjamin had major red flag radar. Did I listen? Absolutely not. I was too busy calculating how much I'd save if I canceled my Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime subscriptions while abroad. The answer was $43.67 a month. Worth it. So I accepted. I packed up my life, sold the Civic, gave Ben my Peloton, and flew out 2 months ago. The job itself was intense. My first 2 weeks were pure culture shock, which I expected, but the office culture shock was worse. I was supposed to report directly to the CEO, a woman named Vanessa, but she was never there. Instead, I was managed by this absolute tyrant, Amber Moore, 22F. Let me talk about Amber for a second because she is the core of this whole mess. Amber is 22. She was officially the executive assistant to the CEO, but in reality, she ran the entire show from the 5th floor office suite down to deciding who got what stapler. She was smart, terrifyingly efficient, and had this weird, hyper-polished look, always wearing these extremely expensive, crisp white shirts and tailored trousers. She carried an iPhone 14 Pro, which she checked constantly, often ignoring me mid-sentence to text someone about a private jet itinerary. Here's the kicker about Amber, 22F. When I was about 10, back when I lived in Westfield, Massachusetts, there was a girl named Amber in my neighborhood who was about 8. I remember one summer, she literally saved my dog, a giant, goofy golden retriever, from falling into a storm drain. She was tiny but brave, and I always called her my childhood hero in my head, even though I hadn't seen her since we moved away. So when I met this Amber Moore, 22F, in Singapore, I immediately mentioned it, thinking it might be a fun icebreaker connection. Big mistake. Huge. When I said, "You know, Amber, I had a childhood hero with your name. It was the only Amber I ever knew before you." She looked at me with this dead-eyed stare, adjusting her AirPods. She didn't miss a beat. She said flatly, "That's nice, Brian. We don't have time for nostalgia here. Did you complete the Q3 Synergy report, or are you still trying to calculate PTO hours?" The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. The dynamic was established. I, the highly paid 50-year-old international director, was now taking orders from a 22-year-old who clearly thought I was obsolete. The work environment was truly toxic. The company motto was maximize output, minimize talk, which essentially meant 14-hour days, no breaks, and passive-aggressive Slack messages about lack of commitment if you logged off before 9 p.m. One day, I ordered takeout Chipotle because I was desperate for something familiar and had it delivered to the 5th floor. Amber saw the delivery guy and actually pulled me aside. "Brian," she whispered, leaning close so only I could hear. She smelled faintly of expensive perfume and pure resentment. "We do not accept outside deliveries during core hours. It reflects poor time management and interrupts the flow. You wasted 15 minutes of company time dealing with a $43.67 food transaction. Next time, bring a salad or don't eat at all." I was dumbfounded. I had literally just worked 12 hours straight and was about to start another Zoom meeting with the London team. My stomach dropped. I did the thing where you just smile and nod while internally screaming. It got worse. She started actively sabotaging me, I swear. She would forget to invite me to crucial 5:30 p.m. meetings, only to email me later demanding why I hadn't delivered the requested materials. She'd changed the date on my scheduled one-on-ones, forcing me to rearrange my entire schedule, often making me cancel therapy appointments I desperately needed, and which were costing me a fortune because my insurance deductible hadn't been met yet. I started using my sick days just to maintain my sanity, burning through 4 of my 7 allotted days in the first month. I was eating Talenti gelato straight from the container at 1 a.m., barely sleeping, and my Apple Watch said my resting heart rate was consistently 95. I talked to Benjamin, 67M, about it on a weekly video call. He was livid. "Brian, you're the director," he boomed, his voice crackling slightly over the international Wi-Fi. "You're 50 years old. Tell that little whippersnapper to respect her elders. Tell her she needs to address you professionally." I tried. I really tried to assert my authority. I even bought a new expensive blazer from an IKEA trip, don't ask, to project competence. I cornered Amber 22F by the expensive coffee machine, the one that made perfect espresso, but no one was allowed to use unless the CEO was in the building. "Amber," I started, trying to keep my voice steady, "I need to talk to you about our communication structure. I feel like sometimes vital information is being withheld, and frankly, I need to be treated with the respect due a director." She was scrolling through TikTok, completely ignoring me, tapping away at a new trend video. She finally looked up, her expression utterly bored. "Respect is earned, Brian," she said, putting her hands on her hips. "You've been here 2 months. You still struggle with the time differences, you haven't mastered the project management system, and frankly, your team constantly complains you're too focused on feelings and interpersonal dynamics instead of maximizing deliverable efficiency." She paused, taking a sip of her perfectly black artisanal coffee. "Also," she added, eyes flicking down to my chest, "that blazer clashes with your tie. Go fix it. We have a VP coming in Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. and I need you to look competent for once." I wanted to key her beat-up Toyota Corolla. Wait, no, she probably drives a Tesla. Anyway, I felt my hands shaking. I was literally shaking. I walked away, went to the bathroom, and tried not to throw up. I wanted to scream, but we were on the 5th floor of a high-rise, so I just splashed cold water on my face, worried about the $85 plumber charge if I stopped up the sink with stress-induced vomit. I was done, just done. I was spending more time navigating her toxic personality than navigating cross-cultural synergy. The only thing keeping me sane was my long-distance connection with my partner, Juan. We have an open relationship. We're open relationship navigators by title and by practice, LOL, and he's usually my anchor. But even Juan was starting to pull back. I'd text him lengthy paragraphs about Amber's latest cruelty and he'd text back, "K," or "sounds intense." Or sometimes just a gif of a dog shrugging. I needed an escape. I needed to quit. I had only been there 2 months and 8 days, but I was ready to forfeit the relocation bonus if it meant keeping my sanity. I even drafted my resignation letter on my iPhone Notes app, right after checking my bank account and realizing that despite the massive salary, I still hadn't paid off the $347 bill from the Costco run I did before I left Seattle. Money stress is real, people. The tension peaked last week. Amber had asked me to stay until midnight to finish a presentation that she had arbitrarily moved up from next Monday. I was exhausted. My Android battery was dying at 3% and I had 47 unopened Slack notifications. At about 11:30 p.m., I went to the kitchenette to grab a gas station coffee I'd saved, hoping the caffeine would kick in. Amber was sitting alone in her corner office, the door slightly ajar. She was talking quietly on the phone, but the voice wasn't aggressive or professional. It was soft, almost conspiratorial. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but when she said my name, I froze. She was whispering, "He's still here, yeah. The 50-year-old dinosaur, Brian. Honestly, he's totally worthless. He thinks I'm the 8-year-old who saved his dog. It's giving major delusion, TBH. Vanessa hired him purely because she needed a scapegoat for the inevitable APAC failure. He's perfect for the fall." My chest tightened. "Scapegoat," she continued, even softer. "Yeah, the Reddit thing, it's genius. It's totally anonymous." I dropped enough details about his personal life, the open relationship thing, the embarrassing attempts to assert authority, that anyone at HQ will know it's him. I even used his actual work title. "The thread is blowing up. It's going to hit the front page by tomorrow, and then Vanessa will have the perfect excuse to terminate his contract, citing public exposure of sensitive company information and unprofessional conduct." I felt the blood drain from my face. My jaw literally dropped. "The Reddit thing," she hung up, then let out this small, satisfied, almost evil laugh. I stumbled back to my desk, my vision blurry. My first instinct was denial. This can't be real. She's messing with someone. This is a joke. I pulled out my work-issued Samsung Galaxy, which also had a cracked screen, of course, and opened Reddit. I didn't even have to search. There it was, trending in r/Antwork, and linked in a major sub for international business gossip. Title: "My 50YO director just got internationally relocated to be a scapegoat, and he thinks I am his childhood hero. Worst workplace dynamics ever." I clicked it. The username was "APAC admin sucks," and the post was a detailed, brutal takedown of my entire professional and personal life. The first line hit me like a physical blow. "I work under the most absurdly unqualified, overpaid director who thinks he's a visionary just because he's an open relationship navigator in his personal life. He's 50 and was hired purely so our CEO, who is useless, can blame him when the new Singapore office implodes." It went on describing me trying to implement my soft skills training, my inability to handle the technical aspects of the job, and then the personal attacks. He keeps telling me I remind him of a childhood hero who saved his dog in Westfield. I've never been to Westfield, MA, in my life. The man is truly delusional. He tried to pull rank on me last Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. over a conflicting meeting schedule, citing his 30 years of experience. Honey, those 30 years were irrelevant, just like his $200 weekly withdrawals for unaccounted expenses are irrelevant to the company. We're all placing bets on how fast he gets fired. My head was spinning. The sheer number of specific details, the dates, the veiled reference to my personal expenses. How did she know about the $200 withdrawals? I felt so exposed. It felt like she had been watching me, recording everything for weeks. Scrolled through the comments which were merciless, hundreds of people calling me an entitled boomer, a soft skills liability, and suggesting I should retire and stop blocking the career path of talented young people, meaning Amber. I was shaking again. I wanted to smash the phone. I called Benjamin 67M right then, forgetting the 12-hour time difference. It was 3 a.m. for me, which meant 3 p.m. for him. He picked up on the second ring. Brian, what the hell is going on? I saw the thread. You saw it? I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. I was crying now, the ugly kind of crying where snot is everywhere and your eyes swell shut. Yeah, my buddy at the Legion Hall saw it and sent it over. Brian, they're tearing you apart. How did they get so many details? Who is this person? It's Amber, I choked out, looking across the dark office at her still-lit corner. Amber Moore, the 22-year-old executive assistant. She literally told someone on the phone she posted it so they could fire me. Benjamin was quiet for a long moment, and I could hear the distinct sound of a wrench clanking on concrete in the background of his garage. Then his voice came back slow and deadly calm. Amber Moore, the one you said you liked because she reminded you of that girl who saved your dog, the one I told you was a red flag. Yes, I whispered, humiliated. Okay, you need to get out of there right now, Benjamin ordered. Do not confront her, get your keys, get your passport, and get in a taxi. Go to a hotel. I'm booking a flight now. I'm serious, Brian. That kind of maliciousness, that's not just work drama, that's targeted destruction. But Ben, I know buts. I don't care about the $1,247 rent or the security deposit. Your life is being destroyed and your safety might be compromised if this person is this unhinged. You need to come home. I looked around the office. The cold, sterile light, my messy desk, her perfectly neat minimalist desk. The Ring doorbell system she insisted we install near the main entrance for security. Suddenly, the security system didn't feel like a safeguard. It felt like her way of monitoring every movement. The absolute audacity of her, lying about being my childhood hero just to lure me into a false sense of security while she meticulously planned my professional demise. The fact that she had all these exact figures, the $200 withdrawals, the Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. meeting meant she had access to way more than just my work files. She must have been going through my computer, maybe even my personal accounts. I was feeling pure rage now, the kind of rage that makes you feel dizzy and weak simultaneously. I pulled up her Reddit post again. It had 7,000 upvotes and was stickied on the front page of the sub. And then I saw the very last comment, posted literally 5 minutes ago by a new account, You Not a Scapegoat. It was a detailed description of the office security system, the Ring doorbell, and specifically instructions on how to access the historical footage using a specific administrative bypass code. The comment read, just to maximize transparency, if anyone needs proof of the director's supposed unprofessional conduct, maybe you should check the Ring camera footage from the 5th floor entrance facing the kitchenette. It's time-stamped and the password is redacted for REDDIT. You can see everything, including the person who posted this thread coming in at 8 p.m. tonight to rifle through his desk looking for Zelle transactions. My heart stopped. Someone was defending me. And not just defending me, but revealing her actual location and actions. Who the hell posted that, and how did they know the administrative bypass code for the Ring system? Only 3 people had access to that code, the CEO, the head of facilities, and Amber. I stared at the screen, my breath catching in my throat. I looked over at Amber's office. The door was still open. She was standing up, pulling her tailored jacket on. She was about to leave. I knew I couldn't confront her now. Benjamin's words echoed, do not confront her. I needed to know who You Not a Scapegoat was, and I needed to get that footage before Amber deleted it. I needed undeniable proof that she was not only posting toxic lies about me on the internet, but that she was also breaking into my desk and spying on me via the security system she insisted we install. My phone started ringing again. It was Benjamin 67M, zelling me $5,000 for emergency travel and simultaneously blocking Amber on all social media platforms I hadn't even thought about. I looked at the Ring system access instructions posted on Reddit. I looked at Amber 22F, who was now walking toward the elevator, a small, triumphant smile playing on her lips. I typed out a quick, frantic text to Juan. I'm being sabotaged. I need that old password for the home security server you set up 2 years ago. Now, I logged out of Reddit, walked to the main security panel by the elevator, and saw the Ring camera blinking red staring straight at me. I could try the administrative bypass right now before Amber reached the ground floor. But if I tried it and failed, she would get an immediate notification that someone was trying to access the restricted footage. And if she realized I knew, she would definitely delete the evidence. I was standing there, the weight of my ruined career, my international relocation failure, and the pure, terrifying humiliation of being mocked globally hanging over me when the elevator doors chimed, signaling Amber's arrival. I had 30 seconds before she'd walk past me on her way out the door. I had to choose run or get the proof. I pressed the small admin access button on the security panel and started entering the code You Not a Scapegoat posted. If I was wrong, I was dead. If I was right, I had the video evidence of everything. The screen flashed red, then green, and a small digital voice whispered, "Security override initiated. Welcome Amber Moore." Wait, what? That was her password. The one You Not a Scapegoat posted online was actually her personal access code, and then I saw Amber 22F round the corner from the elevator lobby, stopping dead in her tracks when she saw me standing by the security panel. The look on her face was pure, unadulterated shock, quickly morphing into cold fury. She stared directly at the blinking red light on the security panel that screamed access in progress. "Brian," she said, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "what the actual fuck are you doing?" I didn't answer. My focus was on the Ring system screen, which was now buffering the historical footage from 8 p.m. tonight. She started running towards me, her face contorted with panic. Don't. You don't have the authority. I ignored her, frantically trying to download the video evidence to my phone, which was dangerously close to running out of storage. I know what you did, Amber, I said, my voice shaking but steady. I know about the Reddit post. I know about the footage. You used me as a scapegoat. She lunged for the panel, trying to hit the cancel button. I instinctively grabbed her arm, pushing her away. She stumbled, momentarily stunned. You're being dramatic, Brian. You're too sensitive. That never happened, she yelled, resorting to the classic gaslighting tactics. I never said that. You're remembering it wrong. After all I've done for you, you're going to sabotage the security system. You're crazy. I kept my finger pressed on the download button. The transfer bar was creeping along at agonizing speed. Tell me why this man really thought he could come into my office and physically assault me. She screamed loud enough for it to echo in the empty corridor, knowing the Ring camera was recording her performance right now. I finally got the footage. I had the admin code, I had the video evidence, and I had the Reddit thread that detailed her plan. Just as the download finished, the entire building's emergency lights flickered on, bathing the floor in an ominous red glow. It's over, Amber, I said, tucking the phone away. She smiled then, a cold, predatory smile. You think you're safe, Brian? You think a downloaded video is going to save you? I just saw the notification. Someone accessed the Ring system with my admin code, and now I know exactly what you're up to. I also just locked down the building. You and I were not leaving until we have a little talk about everything you think you know. And trust me, I'm the one who knows how this story ends. The main entrance doors, which were automatic glass sliders, slid shut with a terrifying final thunk. The only way out now was through the emergency stairwell, which I knew required a secondary security code that only she and the CEO had. I was trapped on the 5th floor with the person who had meticulously planned my public and professional downfall, and she had just activated the building lockdown. And worse, I still didn't know who You Not a Scapegoat was or why they had given me the exact access code to get me into this mess. Was it a trap? My phone buzzed. It wasn't Juan. It was a single text from an unknown number. Run. Now. SHEISNT. The only problem. Look at the footage closely. Y'all, I can't even type this without my hands shaking a little. I had to wait 2 days to update because I literally had my phone confiscated by my brother, who is now, yes, physically here in Singapore. And honestly, the last 48 hours have been the most insane, terrifying, and surprisingly clarifying time of my life. I was trapped. Locked down on the 5th floor with Amber, who looked like she was ready to commit a felony just to delete that video footage. The ominous red emergency lights were flashing, making everything look like a bad horror movie set. I had my phone tucked away, the video evidence safe, but she had the control panel. You think you won, Brian? Amber said, her voice completely calm now, which was somehow scarier than when she was screaming. You just committed theft of company property, violated the security protocol, and assaulted an employee. You pushed me. That is grounds for immediate termination and potentially criminal charges here. She was walking slowly toward the security panel, ignoring the emergency glow. I knew she was bluffing about the assault, but the theft violation part, totally plausible, especially since she was the one who installed the system. I felt the sheer exhaustion of the last 2 months crashing down on me. I wanted to just sit down and cry, but Benjamin's words played in my head. Do not confront her. Get out of there. I didn't steal anything, Amber, I said, trying to project director energy despite my sweat-drenched blazer. I accessed company files using a code you posted on a public forum. You locked us in here. That is illegal restraint, and I suggest you open the doors immediately. She laughed. A short, sharp, terrifying sound. Oh, the Reddit thread. You actually believe that ridiculous post? That's just someone trolling you, Brian. You're a delusional, always searching for drama and focusing on feelings instead of productivity. This is exactly what the comments were talking about. She was trying to gaslight me while locked in an emergency shutdown with me. The sheer audacity. I have the video, Amber, I repeated, pulling out my phone and waving it slightly. I have the 8 p.m. footage of you going through my desk looking for Zelle receipts. And I have the recording of you telling your friend on the phone that you posted the thread to get me fired, citing me as a scapegoat. Her face went pale. The performance was over. You idiot, she hissed, grabbing the security panel and hitting a code. You didn't think I would check the access logs? You think You Not a Scapegoat is your ally? That was a trap. I set a notification that if anyone used that bypass code, I would know immediately. And now I know you are actively attempting to sabotage the company. That footage is irrelevant when I report you for unauthorized access. My stomach dropped like a lead weight. A trap, of course. Benjamin had warned me about traps. I should have known that kind of perfect information was too good to be true. She wanted me to use her code, giving her definitive proof that I violated policy. Then the text message flashed in my memory. Run. Now. SHEISNT. The only problem. Look at the footage closely. I had only downloaded the footage. I hadn't watched it. I needed to see who else was involved. Open the doors, Amber, I commanded. I was no longer negotiating. I walked past her, heading straight for the emergency exit stairwell, not looking back. Don't you dare use the stairs, Brian, she yelled. That sets off another alarm. You'll be detained. I ignored her, slamming the panic bar on the door. A loud, piercing siren immediately went off, echoing through the 5th floor. The noise was deafening, the red lights flashing faster. I didn't care about the detention. I was running. I flew down the stairs 3 steps at a time, my 50-year-old knees screaming in protest. I kept running until I hit the lobby, shoved my way past the startled security guard, and burst out onto the humid Singapore street. I grabbed the first taxi I saw, threw my suitcase in, thank God I'd kept it packed, and yelled my hotel name. I didn't sleep that night. I was shaking so badly I couldn't hold my phone still. I finally watched the footage at 4:30 a.m. in the hotel room. The video was clear. At 8:02 p.m. Amber walked in, went straight to my desk, and started pulling out documents and rifling through my wallet. Standard sabotage. But then at 8:15 p.m. someone else entered the frame. It was Vanessa, the CEO, the woman who hired me. Vanessa walked into Amber's office, handed Amber a thick manila envelope, and they embraced. They looked like partners, collaborators. Amber whispered something to Vanessa, pointing toward my desk. Vanessa nodded, smiling a chillingly sweet corporate smile. Amber wasn't just the toxic assistant, she was Vanessa's point person, possibly her partner in crime. The scapegoat plan wasn't just Amber's idea, it was the entire leadership strategy to cover up the inevitable failure of the new APAC division. I had been right, I was the human shield. My heart rate jumped back up to 95. The level of betrayal was staggering. And that also explained how Amber knew about my specific work schedule and my $200 withdrawals. Vanessa, the CEO, had given Amber access to all my employee data, bank reports, and expense claims. I realized a scapegoat hadn't set a trap. They had been trying to help me escape the physical location, knowing Amber would see the log and lock the building. The subsequent text message run, "Now, SHEISNT the only problem. Look at the footage closely," was confirmation. Someone was watching out for me, but who the hell was it? So 2 days later, my brother Benjamin, 67M, arrived. He zelled me the $5,000, booked a first-class ticket, and was waiting at the hotel lobby when I finally dragged myself down there at 11 a.m. He didn't hug me. He just looked at my face, which was pale, puffy, and probably smelled faintly of stress and cheap hotel carpet. "You look like a hostage victim, Brian," he said, his voice quiet but intense. He was wearing a beige fishing vest over a pressed white shirt, looking completely out of place in the sleek hotel. He carried a small, worn leather briefcase. "Ben, it's worse than I thought. The CEO is in on it. Amber is the cleanup crew," I stammered, shoving my phone into his hands, already pulled up to the security footage. Ben watched the short clip, Vanessa handing Amber the envelope, the conspiring smiles twice. He didn't say anything for a long time. "Okay, this isn't just a toxic workplace, Brian. This is corporate espionage, or maybe just straight-up fraud. They are trying to cover tracks and needed a fall guy with a high salary they could pin everything on," Ben said, handing the phone back. He opened his briefcase. Inside was not a legal pad, but a small, heavy, very old Air Force-issue digital recorder, the kind that looks like a brick. I called a lawyer friend of mine in Tulsa who specializes in white-collar retaliation cases. He gave me a 3-step plan. Step 1, document everything. Step 2, do not resign. Step 3, secure all personal property and data. "But I downloaded the video to my phone, Ben. I broke company policy to get it. They're going to fire me for that alone," I whined. "They're going to fire you regardless, Brian," Ben stated matter-of-factly. "But if they fire you for cause violating security, assault, theft, you forfeit everything. The relocation bonus, the severance, maybe even your accrued PTO. We need them to fire you for no cause, or better yet, we need to make them pay you to leave quietly," citing the toxic environment. He pulled out a new burner phone he bought at the airport. "We're going dark. You are blocking Amber and Vanessa on everything. You are not going back to the office. You are not responding to emails. You are activating all your VPNs and changing all your passwords." We spent the next 12 hours doing damage control. I filed a formal police report about the theft of personal information, the Zelle receipts, and the attempted illegal restraint, the building lockdown. The police were, shall we say, less than thrilled about a corporate drama, but Ben insisted, citing local penal codes about harassment and confinement. Fast forward to Friday, 3 days after I escaped the office. I was holed up in the hotel, eating overpriced room service and watching reruns of NCIS on the Singapore cable channels. Amber had blown up my personal phone with texts and voicemails. Text from Amber, 4:12 p.m. "You are seriously jeopardizing your career and reputation. We expect you in the office Monday morning for a mandatory performance review with Vanessa. Failure to appear will be considered job abandonment and termination." Voicemail from Amber, 6:01 p.m. "Brian, this is your last chance. Return the company phone and the security footage you stole. You are digging yourself into a hole you can't get out of. You should have stayed in Seattle with your precious Honda Civic." That hit close to home. She knew exactly which buttons to push. Ben intercepted all communications. He replied to Amber via his burner phone. "Brian Gonzalez is currently under medical supervision due to a hostile and unsafe work environment. All communication must now go through legal representation. Do not contact him again." The lawyer, the Tulsa friend, whose name is Dale, was expensive but worth it. Dale coached Ben on what to say. The company's HR department, which was clearly managed by Amber or Vanessa, sent a formal letter threatening immediate termination for unauthorized data access and failure to perform duties. Ben's response, drafted by Dale, was glorious. A 5-page document citing every labor code violation imaginable, demanding immediate compensation for defamation, the Reddit thread, reimbursement for mental health services, and a severance package equivalent to 18-month salary. Otherwise, we go public with the ring footage and the CEO's involvement in a potential fraud case. I was terrified. We were playing professional hardball, and I, the guy who mediates arguments over ergonomic chairs, was now at the center of it. A week went by where nothing happened. Absolute silence from Phoenix Global. No paychecks were missed, which was weird, but I still couldn't sleep. I kept obsessing over a scapegoat. Who was this person? A disgruntled facilities manager? Another executive who hated Amber? I finally got a lead on Saturday morning. I was checking my old secured personal email. The one Juan and I used to set up the home security server 2 years ago, the one I texted him about in part 1, and there was an email from an encrypted address. Subject, Ray, old security server password. The body was short. "I don't have the old password, Brian, but check your old Peloton app account. You linked the security bypass code to the notes section for in case of emergency 2 years ago. I remember because I told you that was stupid. It was Juan. He wasn't pulling away, he just knew my tendency to bury vital information in the most unlikely places. Juan is good like that. I logged into the Peloton app, sure enough in the notes section for my favorite 45-minute 90s ride, Old Home Security Bypass 50M Open Navigator. I thought, wait, why did he send this now? I realized Juan was telling me that I had a backup system, a way to secure my own data from afar, not just the office data. And then I saw the sender's full email address, j.davis@tulsa.com. Juan's last name isn't Davis, it was Benjamin. Ben had been so worried about the burner phone being traced that he had used Juan's email address structure and a private server set up back in Tulsa to communicate with me without using the Singapore telecom network. He was protecting me on multiple fronts, the protective sibling 67M at his absolute finest. I found Ben in the hotel business center printing off what looked like legal documents about Singaporean corporate law. Ben, you are an absolute genius, I said, showing him the email. But you used Juan's email syntax. Why? Ben, who has never used an emoji or a slang term in his life, just shrugged. Old military tactic, misdirection. I didn't want the network to flag a communication between the two of us. And you knew about the Peloton notes? Brian, I have had access to your emergency password stash since you were 25. I'm your brother. I fix old cars, but I can also fix your life. Now stop being sentimental. We have a counteroffer from Phoenix Global. He handed me a crisp printout. The letter was from an entirely new legal team in New York, not the local HR disaster team. It was short and very professional. Phoenix Global was offering immediate severance, 6 months' salary paid out as a lump sum, plus full reimbursement for relocation expenses, immediate release from the non-disclosure agreement (NDA) regarding the Reddit post, and a neutral letter of reference stating I resigned for personal reasons related to international transition. In exchange, I had to sign a new NDA stating I would never discuss the internal workings of the Singapore office, the ring footage, or the CEO's involvement. They did not admit wrongdoing, but the offer was a clear attempt to silence me. 6 months' salary, that's $90,000, I calculated. Plus the relocation cost was $20,000. That was $110,000 cash, tax-free. Take it, Ben ordered. This is a win. They are desperate to avoid discovery, and they know the sight of Vanessa on that footage is a liability. You can walk away, pay off the Costco bill, the Seattle credit card debt, and move on. I felt this incredible, immense wave of relief wash over me. It was over. I wouldn't have to face Amber again. I wouldn't have to watch my career die publicly. But what about the Reddit thread, Ben? The defamation? That thread is still up, and it calls me an entitled boomer, I protested. We addressed that separately, Ben said, folding the document precisely. Right now, you prioritize financial and professional stability. That money is your safety net. You sign this, you fly home with me tomorrow, and you start healing. I signed the papers without hesitation. I immediately zelled Dale, the Tulsa lawyer, his $5,000 fee and scheduled a flight for Sunday morning. By Tuesday, I was back in Tulsa, staying in Ben's massive garage apartment, which was surprisingly clean and smelled faintly of WD-40. I was 50 years old, unemployed, and living above a pile of rusty Toyota Corollas, but I was sleeping through the night. I was processing the whole thing. The toxicity, the betrayal by Amber 22F, the calculated manipulation by Vanessa, and the fact that Ben 67M saved my butt. I still had one loose end though, you not a scapegoat. I needed to know who this ally was. I did something I probably shouldn't have, but I was curious. I used the burner phone and created a new Reddit account, U50M Navigator still here. I sent a direct message to you not a scapegoat, my message. Thank you for the admin code. I got the footage. I signed the severance agreement and am safe now. Who are you? I didn't expect a reply. I was binge watching the Great British Bake Off, eating Cheetos for dinner, a luxury I couldn't afford in Singapore, when the notification popped up. Reply from you not a scapegoat. You're welcome, Brian. I'm glad you're safe. I was the actual security administrator who installed the ring system and reported to facilities. Amber told me you were trying to compromise the system from the start. She had me install a silent logging feature that forwarded all system access logs directly to her private email. When I saw she was trying to trap you and I saw her post on Antiwork, she literally bragged about it in the facilities group chat, I realized she was completely unhinged. I'm resigning next week. Good luck. Wow, a facilities employee, not a high-level executive, just someone watching the camera logs who saw the truth. It reinforced the idea that toxicity is often visible to everyone except the person being targeted. But that wasn't the biggest revelation. 3 days after that, I was scrolling through the local news from Singapore, feeling completely disconnected from that life, when I saw the name Amber Moore 22F in a small headline. Title: Local 22-year-old woman arrested for felony theft and credit card fraud. I froze. I clicked the link, my heart pounding. Amber Moore had been arrested, but not for the corporate malfeasance. She had been arrested for allegedly using company credit cards to purchase luxury goods, specifically 5 extremely expensive, custom-tailored white shirts, several designer handbags, and a trip to Bali, totaling over $45,000 in fraudulent charges. The article stated the investigation had been triggered by an anonymous tip to the local authorities, citing specific bank statements and expense reports. And then I saw the detail that made me gasp. The tipster, Benjamin Davis, age 67, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I called Ben, who was fixing a rusty strut assembly on a 1998 Corolla. Ben, did you turn in Amber for credit card fraud? Ben paused, the sound of metal grinding fading slightly. Well, Brian, I had access to all your expense reports and the security footage of her going through your desk. Dale told me if we wanted to guarantee she didn't come after you for libel, we needed to discredit her completely. But how did you know about the credit card fraud? When you were busy being distracted by her telling you your tie clashed with your blazer, I was looking at the bigger picture. She was making significant, unauthorized purchases on the corporate account. I cross-referenced the dates of the luxury purchases with her Instagram activity. She wasn't very careful about her geotags, TBH, and packaged it up nicely for the Singapore police. They take fraud very seriously there. Ben was navigating this international mess better than I, the open relationship navigator, had navigated my own dinner plans. The man was a silent assassin. Ben, you are amazing, you're a hero, I said, genuinely overwhelmed. I'm just protecting my little brother, Brian, he said gruffly. Now did you remember to transfer the title of the Peloton back to yourself? Or is it still in the company's name? That was Ben always focusing on the logistics. Fast forward 4 months, I'm back in Seattle. I rented a great little apartment smaller than the Singapore luxury place, but I bought a new cheap Honda Civic 2023 this time. Gotta upgrade sometimes, and I'm consulting remotely. I'm focusing on what I do best, helping smaller companies navigate internal HR conflicts specifically related to generational dynamics. I'm taking the lessons from Amber 22F and applying them professionally. The Reddit thread eventually got locked down by the r/antiwork mods, citing unproven accusations and targeted harassment. The content is still there, floating around, but the momentum is gone. The $110,000 severance gave me the breathing room I desperately needed. Juan and I are working through things. The distance and the stress took a toll on our open relationship, forcing us to actually talk about commitment and boundaries, which ironically is what I teach people to do. We're getting better. He came over last week and helped me assemble an IKEA bookshelf. That's commitment, people, my personal evolution. Honestly, I realized I desperately needed that reality check. I was so arrogant about my soft skills and my ability to connect with people that I became blind to genuine malice. When Amber showed me respect, I swallowed it whole. When she gave me a red flag, I called it a cultural difference. I ignored Benjamin's clear, old-school warnings because I was too focused on the sexy title and the double salary. I'm still seeing the therapist. We talk a lot about the humiliation of the scapegoat position. I realized that my need to connect with Amber by reminding her of the childhood hero was my own psychological defense mechanism, trying to force a genuine connection in a hostile environment. That was naive, bordering on stupid. I'm still dealing with the aftermath. I still check Reddit occasionally just to make sure I haven't been targeted again. I still get that knot in my stomach when an unknown number texts me. I still look for a dark-haired 22-year-old in a tailored white shirt whenever I walk into a coffee shop. It takes time to heal, but I'm here, I am secure, I am financially okay. I have my brother who is now officially my financial advisor and security consultant despite being 67 and constantly talking about carburetor replacements. I haven't talked about Vanessa or Phoenix Global. The rumor is the APAC office completely imploded 3 months after I left, citing unforeseen systemic failures, which is corporate speak for we tried to use a 50-year-old as a punching bag and failed spectacularly. The biggest lesson? Sometimes the biggest red flag isn't the toxic culture or the impossible workload. Sometimes the biggest red flag is you, ignoring your gut and your family, and thinking you can navigate out of targeted destruction just because you're an open relationship navigator. Some situations aren't navigable, they're just traps. And sometimes you just need to run, download the footage, and let your protective big brother take down the 22-year-old corporate tyrant with a well-placed anonymous tip about credit card fraud. I'm not proud of everything that happened, especially the stress-induced gelato consumption, but I survived. I'm focusing on my consulting work, setting healthy boundaries, and avoiding any job title that involves the word synergy. Yesterday, I bought Juan a new ergonomic chair just because. It felt good to prioritize the right kind of human connection again. Anyway, that's the update. I am safe. Amber is currently dealing with the complex, non-negotiable legal system of Singapore. And Ben is back in Tulsa, fixing up a 1970 Ford Bronco for me. We'll update if anything else insane happens, but honestly, I'm hoping for a very, very boring life from here on out. TBH, I'll take a boring life over international corporate espionage any day. Thanks for reading, and seriously, watch your security footage. You never know who's setting you up.